requires a story to tell. That's what we're here for today. I hope that helps a little bit. That first video of ABC Primetime aired was what I originally saw. And I had to do some research. I understood the concept. I understood the pieces. But the magnitude, I don't think I understood. To realize how big that was and what it meant to actually be able to take an all-natural product and have our oxidative stress levels reduced by 40 to 70%. And having those numbers actually something that we can measure and prove and validate. I didn't realize what that meant exactly at first. I knew it was important, and I could feel it, I could tell there was something of value, and I knew that there was over 200 different diseases that were attached to oxidative stress. I knew there was a connection there, but it was neat to see the magnitude once we started really digging into this. I watched the video a few times. The second video that we aired just now, the company developed later. I like showing both because I think it's nice to see something that's ABC aired. It's not our video. It's something that is out there, and that they came and did an investigative report and came up with a very positive report on Protandim. But I like the other video because I think it helps validate and help us understand a little bit when after taking Protandim for a month, we can draw our blood and see the measurable change, and to be able to look at a 20-year-old blood and an 80-year-old blood and be able to see that they're similar and they're the same with oxidative stress levels. There's something that we can measure. It's not a placebo. You know, I think I feel better, my headache's gone, and those kind of things. I mean, those things happen, but that's not what they measured in the study. The study measured actual measurable results that they could test. So there was just some validity there that I was interested in looking more into. What I did do is I went to a lecture that Dr. McCord gave. And something that's not explained in these, I just want to share with you tonight, is when I was in one of his lectures, he explained that many of the people that he originally tested that showed that increase in oxidative stress, when he tested them, a lot of them, he actually questioned, and they were already taking massive amounts, high doses of antioxidants. They were taking vitamin C and vitamin E and berries and juices and different things. And so that wasn't documented as part of the study, but he just did that off to the side. And he actually showed us a slide where he eliminated and took out the information from the people who were not taking antioxidants and left the people who were taking antioxidants on the chart. And it remained the same. It actually went up a little bit. Statistically, obviously, if we had more people, it might have been. But just say it just stayed the same. Okay? He did explain that it might go up because sometimes when a vitamin C molecule goes into our body and gets busted apart to give that one basketball away, right, to make the room happy, it becomes 2 more free radicals. He said sometimes we take a little bit, we think it's good. We take more, we think it's better, and we end up causing more problems than good. So he did explain that and show the science. And when Dr. McCord says vitamin C and writes it on a whiteboard, he draws out the vitamin C molecule. I think Eric and myself, our notebooks hit the floor when he started drawing the vitamin C molecule and showing us exactly where the electron came from and how. Just amazing when we sat in that lecture. But what opened my eyes was the people were taking massive amounts and it didn't change the oxidative stress level. Okay, and that's something we've been teaching for over 10 years. Part of our nutrition class was do all we can to reduce oxidative stress. Are there things we can do to reduce that? Are there habits that we have or places we live, things we breathe? You know, there's things we can do to physically change that. There's things we can't do to change it either. Just the fact that we eat food in general, we're going to have free radicals. So we can't change everything, but we can make a difference in just some of the things that we, the habits we have. A lot of those things that we think are genetics are being tied more to habits than they were genetics. I think the number of thought to be genetic problems were higher than really, think they are. Dad ate Kentucky Fried Chicken every day, and Grandpa did, and Dad did, and taught me to, and I wonder why I have the same cholesterol problem that they had, right? It must be genetics. Well, there might be some things we can change within our lives to make some of those differences. That's the first thing. That was what we taught in part of that nutrition class. Second thing was, let's do as much as we can to increase our intake of antioxidants. That was our concept. But after watching that video and after going to Dr. McCord's lecture, I realized that alone was not changing the oxidative stress level. Because those people were in that study were already doing that and it didn't help. But 30 days after taking Protandim, they all came down to a level that was on a flat line. The 80-year-old, the 20-year-old, they all came down to a level that was very similar. So I knew there was something there. Started doing some research, started getting involved. I saw some neat things start to happen. At the time we got involved, they had one study, one patent. I think the second study came out about that time. A couple more patents came out, and now there's a total of 8 studies that we can go read ourselves and get some information from and start to understand. There's still 20 more studies underway. 4 patents that we have now, so we can start to accumulate all of this information and say there's something, and each study just adds some credibility. Every one by itself, standalone, great studies, but when you combine them all, you have a consistency, kind of teaching the same thing. It starts to validate each other. We get something that I think is more and more credible as we go. Product itself, you guys, is amazing. There is one thing that after LSU did their study on skin cancer, there's 3 different studies that they did. We did come out with a second product. They basically put Protandim, the active ingredients of Protandim, into a topical application called True Science. It's an anti-aging cream that we have that we can put right on our skin. We had such great results in the studies with cancer. You can go read some of those things and see what the actual results that they had. LSU, we can't use the words treat, prevent, cure, diagnose. I mean, that's not what the Protandim is designed for, but when you increase your body's enzymes, okay, we're starting to see some of those changes. The neat thing is, we don't have to say that, but go read what LSU said. We can't even stand up here and read what they said because they'll get us in trouble. They said some wonderful things about the product. Taking that product and putting it into a formulation that we can put on our skin topically, I think has provided us with another whole message, something that I think we value. Is this thing working? I'm just going to put it down. What I wanted to show you real quick was with Protandim. True Science is the second product we have. I have a couple of, just down there. Right side. Okay. I grabbed a couple of slides that I had just to help give a visual. Because I don't think we give a lot of credit to True Science, but when we really see what it's actually doing, there's a whole other market for True Science. I've always been the paramedic guy that's feel good and heck with looking good. That happens great, but if not, no big deal. I went to California a few times and they straightened me out, right? A couple of times they said, San Diego group said, no, so just teach about True Science, leave Protandim alone. Well, I don't want them to miss the message, so I stand up there and teach about Protandim, and it was fun. But the idea behind this, and you can kind of see after 56 days some of the changes. This is a pretty good slide. I like to go show them back to back so you can start to see. And then obviously this one's been out for a while, but it definitely starts to show some of the differences. I don't remember the time frame here, but how many days? 56 days. Okay, I know there was 56 as well. So just to give you an idea of what's going on there. So I think that as we start to evaluate some of the actual results, again, science is science, and I think that alone is what we stood on at first. But when you start to actually get people on the product, I got the product and I gave it to grandparents and parents and brothers and sisters, and it seemed like the older people were, the sooner they called me back and said, guess what happened? I think their oxidative stress levels are higher, and when that dropped, they had a noticeable change, something they could feel and see that oxidative stress was starting to become attached to aches and pains and things that they noticed. And I think I got calls from them a lot sooner. Then it seemed like it took me about 90 days personally to feel what I felt. But during that 90-day period, I was excited because my grandma said this and my aunt said this, and I was excited for what was going on in our organization. So by the time I felt something, we had already had tons of people on the product. And I love that concept, is that we can use the science side to believe and have confidence and understanding and faith in what we're doing, but we can also have the credibility behind the actual testimonials, whether we share them as a group or they come behind very, very quickly. In general, I'll just say that probably the biggest response I get is more energy and better sleep. And I don't know which one comes first or second. I think they're attached. You sleep better, you have more energy, and I wonder why that was, right? I think they're attached, but I think that's usually the response I get very quickly. The next group of emails and stories I get would probably be clumped into an anti-inflammatory group, right? Aches and pains, back, neck, feet. I've seen people's hands all crippled up, and they're in meetings crying, saying, "Hey, I can pick up a cup of coffee now. I can carry something across the room." And I love seeing those things. Those will excite me and drive me to do those things. But I like, more importantly, as the paramedic side of me, I had an email the other day. A lady said, "I just saved $280 a month by taking Protandim." End of email. I got email. Hey, what do you mean? I thought she was getting a paycheck and $280. That's great. She's like, "No, my doctor just I've been working with my doctor, told him what I was going to do, and I've been working with my doctor. My doctor just took me off of 7 blood pressure medications." Okay? When I heard that, I mean, she was excited about the $300 a month. I traded $40 a month to $300 a month. I'm excited. I was excited because of the synthetic side effects that she's now avoiding from the 7 medications that she's no longer having to take. Her body's enzymes are being upregulated. Those enzymes fight free radicals at a higher ratio than what she was trying before. her body is functioning properly, and some of those things started stabilizing, and we hear those stories all the time. And I love when we actually see those results. The last analogy I'll leave you on the product, I think will help you to bring home the simplicity of what we're actually doing, is Dr. McCord gave an analogy of water and fire. He said, if you had a cup of water, he said, you can prove that water puts out fire. We can build a little fire in a trash can or something and take a cup of water and dump it in and do our own little experiment. And we can end up with the conclusion that water does put out fire. Right? The fire science behind it is there's a fire triangle. We have, fuel, heat, oxygen. You take away one of those sides and the fire's going to go out. Right? We can do that experiment and write it all up and make it look good, but it doesn't mean we jump off of a fire truck with a Dixie cup full of water, open the front door of a burning hotel and throw it in and shut the door and expect it to go out. Right? Water does work, but how come it didn't work in that situation? It's just ratios, right? We got off a fire truck one time and I looked over and there was a lady, the flames on this house were just rolling out the front door, rolling out the window, had already vented through the roof. They were about 50 feet in the air. And I look in there and I see a lady standing in the smoke. She was about, almost 70 years old. And we have different color codes for the different hoses on the fire truck. Well, she had the green line, okay? We call it the garden hose. She had her own garden hose out of her yard. She's standing by her front window and she's spraying the garden hose in the house. I mean, flames are rolling past her, 50 feet in the air, and she's trying to put the fire out, right? I mean, this is the image I have of us taking antioxidants and hoping it works. Right? She had her finger over the garden hose, right? You know how we do that to get a little more distance into the building? Spraying a little further in there to try to put it out. And my captain said, Elam, go get her out of there so we can put this thing out, right? Go get her out of the way so we can put the fire out. When I got over there, I realized the emotional side of what was going on. Her dog was still in the house, right? Very quickly it becomes this crazy situation to an emotional thing. Like, well, help find your dog, but we got to get you out of here. It was less than 2 minutes we had the flames put out. All we did is change the ratio. We still use water, but we pulled the hoses off the truck, put the pumps on, and changed the ratio. That's the image I have of Protanum. I hope that might help you take something home, because all we do with Protanum is we turn the pumps on in our body, and we produce enzymes that do a lot better job at fighting than the 1-to-1 ratio that we're trying to do potentially right now. Okay? And once I had Dr. McCord explain that to me, I realized, I think he felt bad for Eric and myself, and our notebooks were on the floor, and he turned around and he kind of looked at us and said, well, let me give you an example for the firefighters. And I picked my notebook back up and I said, please. I've been using that ever since, and I finally got it. The ratios are changed with Protanum. We've seen the results. What results do we see? Go on PubMed.gov, type in oxidative stress on whatever disease state you're thinking about. And you'll start to see the connection that oxidative stress has with so many things that are out there. I got very excited because every single one of the things I can remember where people passed away in the back of my medic truck or in my arms were from one of the things that are attached to oxidative stress. If I can make a 40 to 70% difference in teaching people how to do that, that's what I want. That's what I wanted out of life, is to help be proactive against it. Okay? Very passionate about what we do, you guys. Honestly, the product, we could go for hours just on this one piece, but there's a whole concept here. And I don't know why everyone was invited. You probably were invited to come look at a great product. Somebody might be invited to say, hey, this public traded company is growing by 300% a year. You might want to come look at it. Right? I've seen people come and say, I want to look at that. I've seen people come in the door because the job they have doesn't look so good anymore, or that they might not have it tomorrow, and they're just looking for some opportunities, some options. And so we're looking at the financial side, and the product is the means of getting that, but the product isn't necessarily why they came. So I just want to make sure we cover everything tonight. And all I want to do on product is just say there's two ways to look at product. There's the way we just talked about, the customer way, where we're looking and evaluating the product to see if we need to take it ourselves. Do I need it? Does my mom need it? Does my grandma need it? And that's probably the first way we usually evaluate the product. Okay, what does my doctor think? And all the other questions. We can talk about all that, but that's probably the first way you evaluate. The second way we evaluate this, and we should evaluate this when we're looking at the business side, is this product unique? If it's not unique, then we're competing with something else out there and it's going to be tough. Okay? How unique is it, and how easy is it going to be to share that message?